Hey guys, how you doing? This is Benjamin with Benjamin Exotics, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about ball python RI, or also known as ball python respiratory infection. Now this is one of the less common problems you're ever going to have with your ball python. The two most common are going to be scale problems and mites, but it is something that does come up occasionally, and if your ball python is going through this right now, this is the perfect video for you. Or if you just want to know how to prevent and what the causes are, if you just want to increase your ball python knowledge, this video is also great for you. So without further ado, we'll get straight into the video. So first of all, we need to ask ourselves and answer the question, what is ball python respiratory infection? Basically, you can get really technical about what causes it and all the bacteria and stuff or whatever. But the easiest way to say what is it for the average viewer is going to be that a respiratory infection is basically just a cold. Just like humans get, the runny nose, the congestion and stuff, all that stuff is basically what it is in snakes. But it is more serious than just a normal cold. As we know, most humans are not going to die from a cold, but that can be the exact opposite for snakes. It can be very, very, very lethal if not treated over a period of time. These snakes do not have the ability to sneeze and get this snot out. They cannot spit. They have no way to get this fluid out of their system, and is eventually just going to fill up their lungs. It can actually drown the snake. When the snake is just about, I don't want to say on its deathbed, but lots of the times you'll see the ball pythons up like this because they're trying to get the fluid out of their, throat, and then by having their head up like this, you'd think the ball python feels a little bit better because it's not all in its mouth. What that actually does is once it's up like this, it increases how fast the ball python, or the mucus is going down and filling up its lungs. And the snake can literally drown in its own mucus if it does not get treated. So we do not want that to happen. So basically, after we know what it is, we have to be able to identify it. So respiratory infection is actually one of the easiest things to identify, in my opinion. If your ball python is wheezing with its mouth open or closed for an extended period of time, that's one, sign, and it's a very strong sign that your ball python does have respiratory infection. Now, I'm not talking about one little wheeze here or there. Ball pythons normally just will do that, and that's just them exhaling a lot because they were, coming up from being underwater, or just because they got a little bit stressed out. But if you hear it consistently, like wheeze, wheeze, wheeze just for minutes on end, that's one sign that your ball python does have a respiratory infection. Another sign, and one of the probably best ways to actually test for this, is if you go right behind the ball python's head right here and very gently squeeze down on the top of the head and the bottom, not trying to hurt the snake, just a very light squeeze, and you see mucus come out of that snake's nose or out of the sides of its mouth or the front. That's also a very strong sign that your ball python has a respiratory infection. Or if you're holding the snake like this and mucus is literally dripping out of its mouth. That should not be with a normal ball python. I'm not saying there's not some rare exception out there, but for the most part, saliva and mucus should not come out of your snake if it's just being held like that. So now let's go on to causes. What actually causes this? And this is also talking about prevention. How do we actually prevent this? This is pretty debated online, and you'll hear different answers from different people, but from what I've seen and the research I've done and the different experiments and stuff, the actual causes for this are normally just what's in the air. It's really caused by a reduced immune system in the snake. Just like with humans, our immune system keeps off and fights off natural bugs that are just going to be in the air. And there's not one sort of bacteria or virus really that causes respiratory infection. It's just basically bacteria and stuff that's, kind of attacking the snake. So if your ball python's cage is dirty and cold, that is a great way to get a respiratory infection because the dirtiness is going to add bacteria into that cage, and because the, temperature is cold, the ball python is not going to be able to fight it off. Their immune system directly is correlated with the amount of food that they're getting, and also an even bigger part is temperature. So if you have a low temperature and lots of bacteria in that cage, that's a really great way to get respiratory infection. If you're, that's why lots of the times when we do get a respiratory infection, and this is kind of into treatment, we want to bump that heat and humidity up. Other causes can be exposure to other snakes that have it. Once it is developed, it is contagious. Okay? Some people say it isn't, some people say it is. I have friends that have had it, and they bring one snake in, and then somehow, it must be a really big coincidence, they have it in their collection, and then the next thing you know, you have 5 snakes that pop up right near that snake that have respiratory infections. I really don't care what anybody says. it is contagious, okay? I've had friends that have had it spread, and you need to quarantine that snake if you see signs of the respiratory infection from other snakes. Now we'll go into sort of the treatment of this. So the easiest way to treat it, if you catch it very early on, is to simply bump the temps up a little bit and bump up the humidity. Spray down the cage. Having scale rot is going to be the least of your problems at this point. You can spray down the cage, keep it clean, but keep it moist so it's very high humidity, and bump those temperatures up. When you do the higher humidity, it's going to flush that snake's system out and really help its lungs and its immune system function that much better to fight off this disease or this sort of bacteria that's causing the infection. And then the other thing you can do, like I said, is bump the heat up, and of course that's going to bump their immune system up and really help them out. Now that's the most basic thing. If you're a little bit further from that and you're not just at the beginning stages, a step up from that is getting a fogger and using F10. A fogger is basically just like a humidifier, but it's very, very, very potent. It's literally, you can spray it out and it looks like gas is coming out, but all it is normal water. You can mix, I think it's you can Google this online, I'm not too sure. I believe it's a 1 part F10, which is just a cleaner that can help, the snake's immune system. 1 part F10 to 10 parts water. You have to check online to see if I'm correct with that. But you put it into a fogger that you can get from ZoomEd, or other companies do it as well, or you can even make your own out of a humidifier, and you put that in a bin with the snake and you let it breathe it in for about 20 minutes a day. That's kind of if it's a pretty severe case, but not at the beginning stage and not completely severe, meaning the snake's going to die very soon. Now if you get a case where you just didn't catch it for a while, or you bring in a snake that has respiratory infection that's been developed, and I'm talking you hold it like this and it's dripping, or if you squeeze it and you kind of move up its lungs, it has a bunch coming out. If you're at that point, the only real way you're going to be able to treat it is with antibiotics. You can talk to your local reptile breeder or your local vet, especially reptile vet if you can find one in your area. But you are looking at a pretty costly bill. You're probably looking at about $150 to $200 just to get those shots and, the vet visit. Now, while that really can, I don't want to say break the bank, it is the biggest thing. But when you look at it, at that point, if your snake is so bad that by holding it, it's dripping, or by squeezing it, there's a lot of mucus coming out, that snake probably has about 2 more weeks to live, or even less. So the antibiotics and the shots are so essential and important if you get to that stage. Now, the good thing is that most people don't get to that stage, and normally just the F10 treatment or the normal, bump up the heat and humidity can't fix most problems. So you just have to kind of gauge it. If you think the snake is really close to, unfortunately its death, you're going to have to go with the antibiotics, meaning shots. If it's just the beginning stages and it's just a little bit of wheezing, bump the heat and humidity up and you should be fine. And for prevention, for any of you guys wondering, well, this sounds terrible, it sounds horrible, how do I prevent it? The easiest thing is to have a pretty clean snake cage. Doesn't have to be spotless, but it has to be pretty clean. You don't want poop laying all over the place with fungus or mold especially. No mold or fungus, that's really bad. You want your temps to be on point, and always, always, always have your snakes be able to go to a basking area or to a hot spot to warm their immune system and their body up. And besides that, do not expose them to other snakes that haven't been quarantined. And that's the best way to prevent them. And if you do all those steps, the chances are that you're never going to encounter a respiratory infection. I have, 6+ ball pythons right now, and I've only ever experienced it twice. Once was kind of my fault because it was in my care. The other time, it was a snake I brought in from somebody else's collection that came with it. It is very rare, and if you do all those things, you should prevent your snake from getting it. But always know that a healthy snake could, unfortunately, get this disease even if everything else is on par. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you liked the video, please give it a like. And of course, if you like the channel, consider subscribing. Hopefully this benefited you guys. And if you have any questions or comments, especially if you have a snake having this problem right now, please leave it down in the comment section below. I hope you guys did enjoy this video very much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.